Hello and welcome to UA TeaTime within the United Countries special by First Ukraine. You can find us on the frequencies available on our website, firstua.com. I'm Sergey Velichanskiy.
And I am Olivier Vedrine. UA TeaTime is dedicated to bring Ukraine and Europe closer to each other by introducing the real Ukraine to the rest of the world.
When she turned 18, her friends bought her a bulletproof vest and a helmet. She is one of the youngest, if not the youngest, volunteers in today's Ukraine. Our guest today is Ivona Kostyna, volunteer, Vice Chairman of Pobratymy training. Welcome.
Welcome.
Hello.
Now, it's true that, what I've read is that you are one of the youngest volunteers, and especially in the recent, when was it, in February, interview with renowned Nolan Peterson. It states here that in December 2014, at age 18, the civilian volunteer was delivering supplies to Ukrainian troops stationed in the frontline town of Debaltseve. Your car broke down, and for the whole 6 days you spent with the soldiers. Well, could you please tell us what happened?
What happened to the car? What happened to us?
No, we don't care about the car.
Well, the car is better now anyway, but we got to deliver stuff to the front line as usual. From September 2014, I was one of the volunteers delivering supplies to the front lines, to different battalions and brigades out there, mainly to the Debaltseve region, but sometimes to Velichanskiy and Stanica Luganska. And that particular time, our car broke, as usually, and we had to spend 6 days in Debaltseve waiting for it to be repaired. And I got to spend a lot of time with soldiers, talking to them, digging deeper in what they feel, what they've experienced, what they fear of when coming back home. And then I realized that there are actually a lot of events going on in their lives back at home while they're still serving. So some of them got divorced, some of them were afraid they would be divorced upon arrival, and some got very unpleasant calls from their families. Some went on vacations and had problems with the civil society, and so I was starting to think about what can we do about it to smoothen their return to the civil world.
It states in the interview that in 2 years from now, in 2 years, there will be about 250,000 veterans of the Ukraine, of the Ukraine war, many of whom, it says, will have experienced combat firsthand in the trenches and raised villages of eastern Ukraine. So we're talking about 250,000.
Yes, it's
men. Most of them are men.
Large number.
The existing or future fathers. Well, yes, some of them are grandfathers, but for the most part, it's, I would say, 35, 45 years old, pretty much?
It's very different. In 2014, there were soldiers who were 17 and went volunteering, and 75. These are the maximum numbers I know.
75?
75,
yes,
they're still,
yes.
They're among volunteers, but there is no average number, actually. I don't know the average,
Yeah, sure, it's
average age.
Difficult to say that. We don't have the statistics at this point, but what do you think should be done for them now and for those that have already gone home?
Well, returning is a very complicated process. Returning from war, adapting back to the social life, and not only in Ukraine, but a lot of countries before us have proved that there is something that has to be done. There has to be some reintegration process being done by the government, by the civil society. And in my organization, for example, we are running trainings for the soldiers on the biodynamic system that was once developed by Elizabeth and Dieter Marcher in Denmark. And since then, for over 15 years so far, our main trainer, Dieter Marcher, was working with soldiers all over the world in different various conflicts. And so basically it's a 6-month-long training on the biodynamic system and the peer-to-peer approach, where in 4 sessions we train a group of 25 soldiers to work with their personal trauma, with their shocking experience, and to help on their brothers in arms to go through the same process in the future. So basically when they end in our training, they continue on the work in their organization, helping others who have experienced the same things as they have.
And you know, this process is also used in Europe.
Yes.
You say Denmark, but also in France and also in USA.
Yes.
When all those soldiers come back from Afghanistan or from Iraq, they have a process of, we say that, décompression, sas de décompression, I don't know in English. And during a few weeks, they are not with their family, they are in vacation to distress. And,
decompression.
Decompression, yeah.
That is a very important experience. Unfortunately, in Ukraine, it's not yet implemented. So in Ukraine...
But it's the army who take care of that in France.
Of course. In Ukraine, it's not the army who takes care. So after the soldiers are withdrawn from the armed forces of Ukraine, the responsibility for their further social life is on the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Social Policy. And they're developing several programs, and my group is consulting a couple of these programs, but they're still being developed. But unfortunately, there is no decompression time in Ukraine. So basically, when a soldier comes back, he can immediately go home. It depends on the unit, but most of all, in the first day, they get to go back home, visit their family, and so on and so forth. But of course, it's a very good practice, and we need to be heading there. We need to be going to the place where we will have this at least a week or 2 or 3.
Yes, in France it's 2 weeks. They are on vacation, and they wait there. They wait and to go to and see the family. But I want to know what is for you the biggest drama of those soldiers who are coming back?
Well, I wouldn't say there is a drama. I don't look at it as if there should have been a drama. I work with the strongest people I've met in my life. And these people have the strength to admit their unique experience. They have the strength to face it and to work with it. And it's a big, you need to have a lot of strength in yourself and a lot of power to admit your choice and to actually be responsible for the consequences of this choice. And for them, they're working with their experience. They're developing their experience into something new. They're growing from it, and in future they will be able to create something incredible out of it. And I believe in this. I don't want to look at them as if they had a drama in their life. They're strong men.
I am agree with you, but this is the question for the TV. And I want to know also, do you have some plan to help them to find a job when they come back?
Well, I'm not helping them.
But do you have an organization in Ukraine?
Hold on. Do you understand? You're asking one of the youngest volunteers in Ukraine.
I talked about, do you have some organization?
That the government doesn't know how to solve.
No, wait.
We are supporting them in their process of reintegration.
That's why I asked this question.
I'm not a volunteer. I am the vice chairman of one of the most one of the best in this field organizations in Ukraine.
Yes, that's why I asked this question.
We don't have a volunteer approach. We are building an organization that will be lasting and is sustainable to develop a program that will last for a couple of years. Not a couple, 10, 15 years, as long as it will be needed. And the thing is that currently our job is to help them work with their experience. And further on, we support them in the process of searching a job. But we are working with groups of 25, 27 soldiers. We don't work with massive groups. But at the same time, we are cooperating with an organization that is actually helping them search for a job and to go through courses. I'm developing a program that is called Sector V on behalf of this program. It is longer. It takes... Part of it is how to find a job and how to be good at this job. So we basically will be giving them skills in reintegration to the working society.
That's why your organization is involved in a very, very large process.
We are involved in a large process, but this is the way to do it. We find maximum ways of cooperation with different other organizations. We're not the only ones working out there. There is a whole group of different organizations. It's not a platform, unfortunately, not yet. But there are people to cooperate with, and that's where we're heading. We're trying to find a dialogue and some ways of helping each other with various organizations out there.
Okay, now, you brought this question. If you're not volunteers, who sponsors you? How do you...
We search for grants, we search for sponsorship, we search for grants, we search for donations from private persons. Of course, the civil sector cannot be sustainable. We have nowhere to earn the money from and to bring it back to the organization. But at the same time, in the whole world, it's now a developing part of business. And if you look at it as a business, if you look at it as something that has to be sustainable, that has to last, that cannot rely only on private donations, but has to have a platform to rely on and be bound with some international bigger organizations or corporations, it has to last.
So it has to be either government sponsored or some international foundation sponsored long term.
For example, in Denmark, they found a solution to this question because about 15 years ago, when the soldiers from the Balkans came back and they actually found out that they need to help the veterans, they created a veterans center that is coordinating the work of volunteer organizations in the region and giving them funds to be able to exist. And unfortunately, in Ukraine now, it's not that easy to get the funding from the government. There are about 50 million hryvnias given to the civil sector in this field every year, but I don't know successful stories of people getting this money. And we are not yet hitting all the points on their list, on their checklist to get this money.
Okay. So pretty much you have several battles at the same time. One battle is working specifically with the soldiers, and another battle is fundraising, and another battle is dealing with the government issues, and maybe another battle is dealing with the healthcare ministry. And so you're...
What is very interesting in your organization is long-term project. You don't want to do one shot. You integrate a large project and a long-term project. I think that will be one of these organizations who will in the future continue to help those soldiers. Yeah, right.
That is our aim, because it's a big responsibility when you start working with soldiers. You cannot just say, I'll do it once, and then you stay with yourself. We create a society where they have support and where they have a shoulder to rely on. And you cannot betray, to say so, this society. You have to create it on terms and on platforms where it will be sustainable and it will be working no matter if you are inside or not. It has to be a system. It cannot be just a patriotic institution that will last while it's so-called famous. It has to be a process that doesn't rely on anything from the outer world.
That's why it's very interesting. This is not a PR organization. This is really an organization for the soldiers, and that's really different.
Who do you involve? What kind of professionals do you involve? Where do you find them?
Well, we started to work with Botanamics International. That is what I was saying in the beginning of the interview, a program developed a long time ago by good professionals from Europe. And for the first two trainings, we've been conducting the first one together with an organization called Wounded Warrior Ukraine, but the second one was absolutely on ourselves. And for those two groups, DT Marcher would come to Ukraine and she would conduct part of the training. Further on, we're now discussing that this will be the Ukrainian team trained by the professionals from Europe and also under the supervision of professionals from Europe. As well, we involve in our training soldiers who've been to the previous trainings as co-trainers. So they will be participating on the peer-to-peer approach, because in all of our activities we use the peer-to-peer approach, when a person with similar experience would actually help the people and support people in their process that have the similar experience to them. And so in the second group there were two soldiers from the first, two veterans from the first group, participating fully in the process of training, and further on we'll be involving the people from the second group as well.
Okay. Well, before we get into other questions, I want you to find us on Facebook, facebook.com/firstuaid channel and facebook.com/UATtime. Find us and let us know that you're watching us and send us your questions. All right. So now, in your, this story, it started way back when you were involved with Maidan, right?
Right.
And you were 17.
Just turned 17.
Just turned 17. Can you give us a little feedback on how did you get involved? What brought you? You're from Kyiv, right?
I am. I'm
Okay.
from Kyiv. Well, I was in my gap year after school, and I have just come from a road trip around Europe. I was hitchhiking for quite a while, and I came back to Kyiv.
So you're that kind of a character.
Oh yeah.
Okay, all right.
A little
Now-
adventurous.
Now this gives me a little understanding. Okay.
Logical.
Well, I came back, and at some point I found out that there were people going out to the streets. I wasn't very much following politics at that time, and on the second day, when it got more and more popular in the media, I decided to prove myself what's going on there, and just to go there and feel what kind of people are there, what are they standing for. I joined them from the second day, and it was very close to me, because for me at that point the important part was not European integration, but the fact that our president didn't even ask and didn't even talk to the people before making such a decision for my future. And as a 16-year-old, I didn't have a choice to stay in Ukraine. I wanted to, but I didn't have a choice. I needed to go study abroad. I needed to get a good education abroad. But Maidan changed everything. Well, I got into the battle of the 29th of November when the so-called students were beaten. And after that, I was chosen as one of the organizers in the
Why do you
kitchen.
say so cold?
Because there were not so many students out there. I wasn't a student, my friends weren't students, and it's beautiful to call in the media the night when the students were beaten, but these were all kinds of people.
But mainly they refer to young age, perhaps.
Young age,
no?
yeah.
Well, there is a difference. There were not so many people of young age even. There were older people, there were very young people.
So do you think
I
it's
don't like
a
labeling.
slight, kind of light manipulation in the terms in the media?
I just think it's labeling, and I don't really like labeling people and events in my life, for example. From then on, I started organizing this kitchen, and I had about 20, 30 people. I was managing their lives during the 3 months of Maidan, and we were under the Independence Monument all nights and days long. So that's the short story.
So that's your encounter with the real, what can I say, introduction into the adults world, perhaps?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer this question. It was an interesting experience.
I would
for sure.
assume, let me say this, correct me if I'm wrong, you were different 3 months after that comparing to what you were in November 2013.
Well, of course, it's an experience that changes your life.
Yeah.
It cannot just go past you, especially when you're so involved in it. But I'm the kind of person who tries to stay myself, not relying on the experiences, and I don't want my experience to define who I am. I am the person beyond the experiences that are happening in my life. And so, yes, it was an interesting time. It was a hard time. It was a big challenge for me to manage the lives of these people and try to support them in their time at Maidan. But from then on, I'm doing a lot more now, and I'm a lot more interested in what's going on now than what was going on 2 years ago.
Yes, I think this is the good attitude Maidan was. Now we have to see the future and be engaged in some new project. We don't have to live in some nostalgia of Maidan. That's good.
Well, I was a different person at Maidan. I'm older now a little bit. I've had the experience of war so far. Yes, it was important at that time, but now we have a lot more important things going on in our lives. And for me, I really am passionate about what I'm doing now. It's something I found myself in. I'm the lucky person to find myself in war, because for many, war is just a part-time thing. For me, it was a thing that led me to understanding what I want to study and what I want to learn.
And what you want, you are a student, and what you want.
I'm not a student.
No, but what you want to do in the future, because you are very young, you are 20 years old.
19.
19. And you
didn't do his homework.
No. What you want to, how you see your future? You want to go to university? You want to be, what you want to be?
Well, I will go to university once I figure out what exactly I need to study to be better at what I'm doing. At the moment, I'm leading my project. I'm developing another project, and I'm very much interested in studying the reintegration to the open society after you've been in the closed one. It's not only counting the war, Maidan was the same closed society, and we had to reintegrate. I had to reintegrate after Maidan, and it wasn't the easiest process in my life. It was probably harder than the whole experience of Maidan itself. And now I'm very much interested in how an individual comes back to civil life and to an open society, a free society, after closing himself into a box of circumstances, to say so, and how the society has to come back from that place, because we've been all closed in a box for 2 years so far. We've been living in very much pressure on us.
You know, as a sociologist, I'd say that this sounds like a good, very interesting science project and science study.
Well, it is what we're doing.
That's what probably, referring to the question, that's what I probably can see, that this is where you will be involved in studying more and developing it, because that will enable you to be more successful in what you do.
Maybe,
right?
maybe. We'll see how it turns out. At the moment, we're launching research on our activities, so we're not just conducting trainings, we're actually studying what we're doing on an international level, and we're verifying these studies so that soon we will present the results of the second training. And further on, when the project Sector VA was telling about before will be, we will find funds for it. We will be running a much bigger research on the causes and the consequences of the participation in war in Ukraine in the past years, because as I see it, Ukraine is now in a unique situation of a war on its territory with a very diverse group of participants in the 21st century on the territory of Europe, and we can actually bring a lot to the research worldwide, not only in Ukraine. We have a unique experience to share, and we can here now develop a new interesting program on reintegration after war, because that's what professionals all over the world are searching for. We've been to Denmark and talked to Danish psychologists and people who work with soldiers there, and they all ask us, okay, so what do you do? What's your experience? Because it's something that's still developing, and it will be developing as long as we are participating in wars.
Sure. And you do have a unique experience with everything, you know, given your age and given your participation with all of the different stages of the political and, you know, social situation developing here in Ukraine. So I would assume that there will be a request from a lot of, you know, countries and organizations for you to share your experience, because it is unique.
Well, it is different, let's say so.
Well,
what is
to me,
amazing?
it's the same.
What is amazing? She has 19. You will have 20. Yeah, she has 19.
In half a year.
Yeah, you half a year. Yeah. Then you have 19, and you have a very strong maturity. You have a strong philosophy, and that's amazing. That's amazing. That's why that will be interesting to share your experience, as Sergey said.
I would say Ivona is unique because when she's 16 and hitchhiking in Europe, nobody that I know of that age is able to do that. So I would say, you know, there is some, you know, psychological, you know, profile of Ivona that really enables her to do what she does, and that's exciting. That is good.
I would say I'm hungry for experience, and that's probably what's driving me. I couldn't imagine in 2014 or 2013, when it only got started, that I will miss this part of the history of my country, and I wouldn't be able to witness. I didn't know to which intent I will participate, because I didn't do something incredible in the anti-terroristic operation, for example. I wasn't participating, I wasn't fighting, I wasn't a medic. I know people who've done a lot and contributed a lot and a lot more than I have. But I could deliver supplies, I could organize festivals, I could raise some money or stuff like that, and that was my contribution, but I got to witness it, and that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in witnessing and analyzing what's going on and how I react to the circumstances around me.
Yeah. Have you ever crossed paths with the ambulance Vedrine?
Yeah.
Really?
We have.
Yes, okay. I love those guys. They're good. Okay.
A couple of times.
All right, yeah. That's the tough job that they've got.
Yeah. Yes, a very high respect to them.
Well, thank you very much for coming, and if there's anything we can do, let us know. We would love to help and in any way possible. But keep doing what you do, and I'm sure it will all be rewarded. And those guys that are out there on the front lines will get a good help and be able to come back to their social life, to their families and to their children.
Yeah, and I want to underline, you have to share your experience in Europe.
True.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. It was United Country, UAT time by First Ukraine. Our guest was Ivona Kostyna, volunteer, Vice Chairman of Pobratymy training.
Olivier Vedrine and Sergey Velichanskiy were working for you in the studio. Stay with us and we will show to you the real Ukraine.
Thank you for being with us. Have a good day and see you soon.